What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Too Much Test Podcast, episode 37. It has been a hot minute. This episode is sponsored by The Triggered Brand. It's thetriggeredbrand.com. If you are into research, you like doing your own research, check it out. It's been a while. Sam, how is it going, my friend?
What's up, dude? It has been a while. It is good to be back. Is this really episode 37 or is it 38? Because I actually
according to the toomuchtest.com website, this is episode 37.
Okay, so episode 37. Dude, everything is going amazing. Did you see, I've had a lot of stuff going on in my Instagram post. I've got house renovations happening right now. I've got all this outdoor stuff that's taking place so that I can put solar in my house that's taking place. And I just had 2 tenants move out of the rental. So I've got a lot of shit happening all at the same point, but it is good. I decided to get, for everybody who's listening, I've got what would you call this? A 1970s mustache?
70s, 80s. It's pretty much any decade, just as long as you're watching porn.
Yes, I need a pair of aviators to go with this look.
So in case you're not familiar, Sam is trying to install a solar powered sex dungeon into his new house. His new tenants just moved out. He's got the stash. He is ready to go.
What do you think about this? So I'm thinking about this solar system, and then we're going to talk about testosterone, oral testosterone, and then we've got some Q&A to get into related to some stuff around SARMs and peptides and stuff. But in regards to the solar first, so there's different size kilowatt systems you can get, and I could put an 11 kilowatt up there, which would do an offset of my power bill by 80-ish%, 81 or 82%. And that does not include any upgrades that I do to all the light bulbs in the house or insulation in the attic, which from what I've been researching, I can drop the utility bill by 15 to 50% based upon the insulation improvements, because this is a 1950s house and there's almost this much insulation in the attic and a lot of the ductwork has holes in it. So the question I have for you is, given that we're transitioning to, everything's going to be batteries in the next 10, 15 years, everything planes are going to be batteries. Trains are going to be batteries. Boats are turning into batteries. We already know cars are happening in this moment right now. But I think that power consumption may increase at the house. So my thought process is go with a slightly bigger system, even though I don't need it today. And I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that, because this is running around in my mind, but I'm not talking to anybody but myself.
I don't know too much about it. I've looked into it. In my opinion, in my house, I don't think I'm going to be living here long enough to break even. So I don't think I'm going to do it. Just a couple notes offhand. If you call your power company and ask for a power evaluation, they will come through. They will pay someone to come into your house and check your ducts. And then they will quote you, and they will help pay for the ductwork and stuff to be fixed, because you're not wasting their money, but they want you to use the least amount of power possible, because they have to do less upgrades to their system overall over time.
That's fascinating. I just wrote it on my list of things to do.
I don't know if it's every power company, but I know at least here, in my area, I had an ex-girlfriend that power company came in, they checked the ducts, they found some leaky ones. It was $500 to fix. They paid for half of it because they don't want you wasting the energy, because the more energy their whole area uses, they have to upgrade and build new substations and all that. So the less they can do that. Insulation wise, I know my buddy had it done. He said it was fairly cheap. It was done in a few hours. They come there with some machine, blast a bunch of shit in the ceilings. They can spray foam down in between your walls. He said it's some of the best money that he spent.
Tell me how much your utility bill is, and you will not even be able to guess what my utility bill is.
My last power bill was $276.
And what's the square footage of your house, roughly?
2,000.
Okay, so your house is slightly bigger than, I think I probably have a 1950, 1975 or something. And my power bill, I just got the thing from, do you have Duke? over there?
I think so. I don't even know. I pay someone. Someone comes and turns it off if I don't pay them.
Yeah. I got the bill from them saying that like estimate, hey, this is where we are right now. They send me a thing and says what the estimate is. I get the email every month. And they're like, your bill is currently on track to hit $504 effing dollars for my electric bill. Bro.
Damn.
Dude, $500.
Insulation, my friend. You need some insulation.
Yeah, I need some serious insulation. So what's new on the PED research, chemicals, steroids, all that kind of stuff?
Oh shit, man. So I don't know, man. I'm in a weird spot. Like I was cutting for a little bit and I got down a little bit. I was still feeling pretty good. And then I did last week, I took off the gym. I did a bunch of BPC in my shoulder, feeling a little better. TheTriggerBrand.com if you want to do research. So this week, so I think 2 weeks ago, I front loaded not a bunch of Deca, but a good amount of Deca. I think I started at 150 milligrams the 1 week and then 100 milligrams because I knew I was going to start running Deca. So I just front loaded it a little bit. So today's my first week back in the gym. My shoulder's still fucking hurt.
What happened to your shoulder, bro?
Just living for too long. 40 years old. I've dislocated a bunch of times. It's just, man, it just starts to hurt a little bit sometimes. I take a week off. It feels a little bit better. I've dislocated it multiple different ways. The worst time was, well, both bad times was on a skateboard. I was skateboarding, did a double kick flip, landed on my front foot. Like I was kind of doing on like landed on this front foot. Skateboard went straight back. And I landed with all my weight straight on my shoulder, and my shoulder went back. My shoulder basically came through out the socket, out the back. Went back in, but that was a bad one. And then another one was on a half pipe. And
wait. Why are you on a skateboard? You're a 40-year-old man.
No, I didn't do this like last week. Okay. I did this when I was like 16.
Okay.
It's just
I was like, bro.
But then
we should be having a
next
different
time,
conversation.
I should have probably prefaced with that. But yeah, then the second time I dislocated it real bad, I was on a half pipe and I fell like right on my side and it just pushed my arm out of the socket kind of forward. So like everything, all my tendons have been stretched in both directions for my shoulders. So it's just kind of fucked, man. Oh, and then I was on a bench and I was benching and got stuck under the weight. My fucking asshole friend spotters looking at some girl bent over with her camel toe hanging out. And I lock out and my fucking shoulder just boom right out of place.
That's the one that happened recently.
No.
Like with your shoulder coming out. That was a while ago.
Oh yeah. No, long years ago. Haven't dislocated it in a while.
So it just every once in a while bothers you now?
It's not coming out of place. I mean, it just hurts. It just hurts when I lift. It's just kind of the way it is. I can still lift. It's just that comes a point, even when I'm doing lightweight, like today I was doing lightweight, like 20-pound dumbbells, just doing it. And it just gets this sharp pain, and not much you can do.
How much BPC did you do and for how long?
Did 5 milligrams over, I think, 8 days. I was doing like 500 micrograms. Oh no, maybe it was, I don't know, 5-10 days.
Yeah, that would make sense, right? If 5 milligrams is over 10 days, right, is 500 micrograms per day. So about that, if it runs out in 8 days, then you lose a little bit in the vial and just when you're doing the injection. So 8 days makes about sense. Have you ever thought about researching with like BPC or TB for extended period of time, like 3 to 6 months, to see if that can, and then maybe adding in, because before you answer this, so I had a elbow issue. This is 4 or 5 years ago. And like, if I was just in this chair and I push like this to get up out of the chair, yeah, I'd get pain in my elbow. Or laying in bed, if she's like, oh, come on over, cuddle. So I'd like push down on this side to like turn myself over there, and I'd get pain in my elbow. I couldn't do tricep press downs. Doing bench or shoulder press was painful. And this was going on for a couple of years. So I researched with TV 500, but BPC injectable, but that gets old relatively quick with daily injections or multiple daily injections, depending on how you're doing it. So I was doing MK677 for 14 months, and it healed my elbow. The reason I say that for TB500 or BPC for say 3 months, 6 months, 9 months is because within the first 3 months, I still had pain in my elbow. I could see an improvement. I could feel the improvement in it. But it was still had the pain. Around the 6 to 9 month mark, it was like, holy shit, this is almost better. And I'd get a little bit of pain every once in a while. So I just kept it going. And now it's like, feels better. It's amazing. It still clicks, but I don't get the pain, which is awesome.
You said MK for 14 months?
Yeah.
It's a long ass time, but bro, someone needs to make like a long acting ester for BPC. Something like BPC undecanoate, where I could load up like 4 mLs in my shoulder and I'm good for like 6 months. That'd be sick.
Yes. Yeah. Right. We should come out with something like that. Add a different amino to the end of it so that it could, have a 7-day half-life. You do once a week an injection of BPC, and
bro, it's $1 million idea. If we can chemist that thing together. What if we just take BPC and just mix it with Test and just say it has a long half-life? That'd be sick. But compound wise, I would do. I mean, the injections just every day gets old. I was actually looking on the bodybuilding subreddit, and guys like, 250 micrograms twice a day. I'm like, dude, that's hardcore. I mean, I get it. If you're on steroids.com or the subreddit, you're probably pinning a lot, but yeah, that's a lot.
But what about doing so during that 14-month period of time, there was, I think, about 10 to 12 weeks where I researched with hexarelin. So I would use hexarelin pre-workout, and on the weekends I'd use MK. So I was still using like a ghrelin agonist to keep HGH up. But then, like you said, I was doing testosterone at that time. I was doing testosterone injections daily, which gets old real fucking fast. And then I was doing injectable SARMs. So I was doing injectable SARMs. And then I was also doing hexarelin, which is an injection. So I was doing like 3 injections a day. And those injections get old really, really quickly. But even just something like MK677 for 14 months to see how that helps, and then do all like the mobility type work that you have in the gym to see if you could help improve it. Maybe
it's not a bad idea. I'm interested in trying MK, and that brings up another problem that I'm having right now, bro. Since I stopped drinking, dude, I cannot stop fucking eating. I cannot stop eating. Like, I'm not gaining weight because I'm eating somewhat healthy stuff. It's majority of like protein and like rice, but dude, I'm going through protein bars. Like, it's fucking, bro. Look at this shit. Bro, I'm eating throughout the day, bro. I'll eat. I come home from the gym. I'll just give you a rundown of just today so far. So today, go to the gym, fasted. I actually drank your pre-workout this morning to go do shoulders. Get home. That pink lemonade flavor is pretty good too. I like it. It's not like a sharp taste. It's kind of like mellow. Anyway.
Yes. Yeah. Where the bitter lemon's kind of got a sharper taste to it. It's not as good flavor.
Well, way to sell it. It's not as good.
But it's a better product. It just doesn't taste as good.
So I go to the gym, do cardio, go in the sauna, get home, protein shake, right? Normal protein shake. That's good. Then I have a bowl of egg whites, right? So a bowl of egg whites, a big bowl of egg whites. I'm pretty full. So I go.
How many like egg whites would you say? Is it like a full container?
Probably close to it. One of
the short containers or a tall
shorter one. Okay, I got the 6-pack from Costco. I've started just cooking a bunch of those, and I have those. And then I get freaking hungry, so I get a protein bar, and they're the smaller protein bars.
How many hour? Because the eggs are like one of the fastest digesting proteins from my experience. Like it's like eggs and fish, or like it's like whey protein, eggs, fish, chicken, and turkey are about similar feeling for me, and then beef is like after that. Have you considered like having a 1-pound steak for breakfast? Like I've been doing it. It's awesome.
I believe it. My thing is, like, I like to eat stuff that's like quick and fast, and that's why like the protein bars are real easy for me. So eggs. Then I get hungry. Then I get a protein bar. And then I have a bowl of cooked chicken thighs, rice, eggs, and some bone broth with a little bit of soy sauce. And I remember David was actually talking about like using broths and stuff to eat. And I like that. And we'll get on that. So I have that. Then I get hungry again. So I'm jamming milk. And then I have energy drinks. I'm drinking coffee this whole time. Then I have a handful of mixed nuts, another protein bar. I mean, I'm just eating all throughout the day and I'm never satisfied. And then you're telling me to take MK and I'm like, I'm going to fucking blow up. I'm going to be a 500-pound house.
Well, just so everybody's who's listening to this, or more so for YouTube, we're not recommending or endorsing. This is strictly for entertainment and educational purposes. But you're not gaining weight though.
No, I'm still like 215,
which is great though. So
yeah.
Maybe because the meals you're eating have probably transitioned to slightly healthier meals, which then you tend to eat more food in the health if you switch to healthier meals.
Yeah,
like I've been going through like 3 to 4 pounds of meat a day. It's awesome, and you don't feel, especially if I do the steak. I don't spend the money on the steak all the time, but I like to have it a couple times a week, and you have like 1 to 1.25 pounds of steak at a meal, and not only is it absolute, and just with like butter and salt and pepper. So butter, salt, and pepper on there, and you eat that and you feel great. Maybe some fruit, depending on if I have any fruit left, but you feel awesome and you feel full for a period of time. It's not like a tremendously large quantity of food to eat, but there's no like, one thing that's changed as I've switched to the carnivore thing is I have a lot less cravings. Like I don't crave other shit. Like, tonight I'm going to have a pound of salmon and, however much tuna is left over, right? And I don't know how much that is, but it's going to be over a pound and probably something else, a little else with it. But I think of like, how I used to do the diet where I'd have 5 vegetables, 5 spices and herbs with every single meal. Well, yeah. I try to add in multiple sources of protein with every single meal now. And one way to get one of the things that I was using that I didn't like that I was using was different sauces, because if you look at the ingredients on sauces, there's almost always either sugar and or seed oils in there. And those are like just garbage for like your endocrine, your health and your endocrine system completely. So I've been trying to transition away from those. So I was like, what is something, and this might work for you, it works for me. What is something that I like better than sauces that is like it hits my objective, that I will enjoy more than sauces? Say like having some barbecue sauce or some hot sauce or stuff like that. Because even sriracha has some sugar in it. So I decided on bacon. So I've been eating, yeah, bro. So I've been eating bacon with, I might have like 6 or 8 whole eggs with some bacon, and then maybe some steak with it, or 2 or 3 burgers with it. And it's like a meat bowl. Like it's delicious, bro. Highly, if anybody's listening to this, highly recommend carnivore diet. It is awesome.
You're making like a homemade like Denny's like slam bowl. That sounds
without
good.
The potatoes. Yes, that
sounds good. So I think I do like the idea of a meat diet. It makes sense. I think so. This is interesting. Throwing guys watching be like, this guy fucking TYL, he's a fucking mess over here. He's 40 years old. He's banged up. He's throwing in Deca. So I just started taking Rad 140 this week, and I'm only taking it on days that I'm working out. So Monday through Friday. I'm doing it allegedly for prostate health, because supposedly Rad 140 has been shown to help with prostate health. So that's the only reason I'm taking it. I've also thrown in metformin recently, and I know I told you this. You found that interesting. So I got metformin from my doctor. We'll go with that. And so I'm taking a gram of metformin a day.
What's common dose in that? I thought it was 500 milligrams, right?
It's 500 mil. I mean, it depends. I mean, it can be anywhere from 500 milligrams to 1.5 grams a day.
And you take that normally with meals, before meals, kind of like berberine type thing?
Yep. Yeah, okay. Same idea with meals. I think it's more of you're supposed to take it with a meal to help prevent like stomach irritation, as opposed to like taking it like a Slim pill, to shuttle the carbs into muscles.
I'm going to actually add, I was going to say add berberine to my list of things to get, but I don't need to get berberine if I'm just eating meat. Never mind.
That's true. That is true. But I think,
sorry to take you off track.
But the only, I mean, difference that I've really made that would make me like eat like this is that caffeine. Is that I've been drinking a lot more caffeine. If you remember when we first started the show, I had issues with caffeine. I would get that hypoglycemic feeling, and I would have to jam honey or whatever sugar. So I was wondering, and I mean, I'm drinking a lot more coffee. I'm drinking pre-workouts. I'm drinking coffee throughout the day. I'm typically drinking a Bang. Yesterday I had 2 of those Celsius things on top of coffee.
And pre-workout?
And it was 150 milligram pre-workout. It was a different pre-workout. It was called Limitless. But yeah, I'm drinking like probably close to a gram of caffeine, like I was laughing at you for on episode 18 or something like that. And that's the only thing that I can think of that's making me that hungry. Or my body's used to having more calories from drinking alcohol consistently before I go to bed, that now it wants more calories that I'm not giving it, so that it's giving me that hungry feeling.
When did you add in the Deca?
2-3 weeks ago.
And at 150 milligrams a week?
It was 150 to kind of front load, and then 100 just after that. That's my normal doses. I've done 150 of Deca in the past, and it makes my libido kind of hit or miss.
Do you, I want to hear if you take anything for prolactin, but also, do you think that the increase in Deca, because we messaged, every couple of days or something, but the transition, like you've been cutting back in the drinking for what, 2-3 months now, right?
Yeah.
And do you think that the Deca has increased your appetite a little bit?
I don't think so. I didn't notice it. I front loaded it because it takes so long to get in your system, because it has such a long half-life. So I was like, okay, I'll take 150, then I'll take 100, then take a week off, let the kind of Deca, soak in, get all lubricated up. I honestly think it's the caffeine. But I honestly think it's the caffeine. But at this point, I don't know if I can cut out the caffeine. I do have a prescription for Adderall, but I don't want to I don't want to take Adderall all the time. That's an amphetamine.
Do you take Adderall on a regular basis on top of the gram of
caffeine? No, it's either one or the other. It's either.
Oh, okay.
Like that's I would, good. If I don't really take the Adderall too much, but if I were to, it would probably be pre-workout in the morning, some coffee to help me take a shit when I get home from the gym, a little bit of coffee in the morning, and then I would probably take an Adderall at like 12 or 1 to like finish out like a work day.
Okay, so back 3 months ago, were you taking Adderall more often?
No, not really. It was just less coffee. It was less caffeine. Remember I was telling you I would microdose, like sipping the caffeine?
Yeah, no, I remember this. Yeah.
Well, now it's more like microdosing, but drinking a lot more of the caffeine. I'm going through those cold brew coffee bottles a lot faster.
I wonder, because I thought caffeine had a little bit of an appetite suppressant.
It's supposed to.
Is that right?
Yeah.
But also Adderall. You could always take some more Adderall.
Adderall. I haven't taken Adderall in a little bit, but Adderall is more of an appetite suppressant. That does work a lot better. I feel like for me, the coffee gives me that hypoglycemic feeling, and I think that's what's making me eat more.
Have you ever tried using nicotine gum? Because that has a pretty well documented effect on reducing one's appetite. Those people you see who, and it's a pretty typical stereotype that comes up, is like a frail, thin framed person, male or female, that looks slightly malnourished, but they're smoking a cigarette, right? Like that's like a pretty fucking typical, like if you were describing how that person would look. And one of the reasons is because nicotine has an appetite suppressant effect in the body. So the nicotine gum, right? So you don't get the smoking effect, but you could just get nicotine. I still want to try this. I don't feel like my appetite's an issue, but I would like to
Like 4
try
pounds of
this.
meat.
Yes, but here's the thing. So I'm just wrapping up a 90-day challenge, and anybody who's listening won't be able to see these pictures, so I'll be able to I'll try to actually describe them. But I started at 246 pounds, and then I've dropped down to 226 pounds. So I've dropped 20 pounds. Now, I just want to point at this, or describe this, right? So I have one picture where I'm taking a picture of the selfie, very soft, very poor lighting, intentional for this comparison, right? And then a post with much better lighting and a little bit more flexing. So everything pops out, but still 20 pounds difference, right? You're like, cool, it's awesome, super dope. It's really not that hard to do. Reduce your calories, increase your activity over the course of 90 days. Now, if you look at this picture, I don't look very big, right? 226 pounds, right? Would that be an accurate statement, or is that not?
I mean, I think you look pretty big. I mean, you're a taller guy, so it's not like you're 225, like a 5'10" frame, whereas you'd be a little wider, a little more full, obviously.
So that was one of the feedback that I get regularly in the Facebook groups, right? So this is also about 226 pounds, but this is a completely different look. So in this picture, one is like the effect when you first wake up in the morning, right? You're depleted and you don't have a pump, and then post-workout, this is here. And lately I've been switching all of my pre-workout type stuff. I've been reduced. It's funny. You're ramping up your caffeine intake and I'm actually ramping mine down. I'm having like one tea and like half of a stimulant pre-workout. And then I'm adding in a lot more beetroot powder and a pump, just a pump formula for a pre-workout with like glycerol and mono or L-citrulline and salt and just sodium. And this, even though they look like two completely different physiques, it's almost identical in terms of the weight between these two photos. And it's hard to grasp. I posted these on Facebook, and there were so many people on the Facebook groups that were just hating on this because in that first photo, they're like, "Oh man, there's no way this guy looks like he's 226 pounds."
Yeah,
but people just can't comprehend that, like, the look or the physique that required to achieve 226 pounds, because they think it's just, I look a lot less than that or something.
It was also probably a whole bunch of fat, chubby kids like myself walking on Facebook and be like, that motherfucker, 226 looking shredded as shit. And I'm over here eating protein bars, getting fat.
Hey, did you, to change the topic a little bit, did you see this? The FDA approves a oral testosterone. I figure we could actually read into this a little bit here.
Kaisertrax.
Maris, or Maris, how do you say this? Maris
Pharmaceuticals
receives FDA approval of Kaisertrax, an oral testosterone replacement therapy. What are your thoughts about this? Because I know you have some close ties with some people who are in that TRT world, right? In terms of who work in that area. Have you talked to colleagues around this? Like oral testosterone, this could be like the game changer that semaglutide has been for the fat loss and weight loss community, where people who are trying to, that's the other thing. I don't know why we didn't mention that. Semaglutide, reduce your appetite. Maybe Trigger Brand will send you one for you to test out.
Research, obviously.
Of course, for research purposes.
Well, we could go two ways. We're trying to keep these at 45 minutes. I could blast through this real quick, and then we could jump to semaglutide, or I could jump into this and slowly rip apart Marius Pharmaceuticals.
Let's just talk about this one here, and we'll skip semaglutide. We'll talk about that at a separate time.
So I think the first thing that's interesting about this is there's already another one, and I believe there's a second one that's already been approved, and the main one's called Jatenzo. It's an oral pill. It's just like this. It's testosterone and decanoate, which is the same thing as Aveed and Nebido, but as an injectable. Typically in other parts of the country or other parts of the world, they use Nebido and Aveed. Super, super long acting. You'll basically go there and get injected with 3 ml or 4 ml in one shot, and you'll do that every 3 months. But this one's oral. So from what I've seen,
what is your thought on the endecanoate 3 ml or 4 ml injection one time for like 2-3 months or whatever, however they do that?
from what I've seen, I've never tried it. I haven't heard great results from it. I hear from what I see online is guys feel better on it than they did at like 200 nanograms per deciliter, just feeling like trash, but they never feel like, bro, I'm on TRT. I'm feeling solid, mad gains in the gym. I feel like banging all the time. It's like, you're better, but you never seem to hit like, that 1100, 1000, 1200 range. And that's the same thing with this. So this testosterone. So first off, I think this is a way for the pharmaceutical industry to make money on something that's already been solved. Injectable testosterone's already there. Some guys are deathly afraid of needles. I get it. But this is to solve two things. That doctors that are scared to prescribe testosterone because it's an injection and they don't think that their patients are smart enough to actually do an injection by themselves. And to be fair, some of their patients are probably fucking idiots and can't do an injection. But long story short, you have to take this every single day. It has to be taken with a fatty meal because the way it gets into your system is through like fat. It gets absorbed through like your intestines through fat. So you have to have a fatty meal. So if that doesn't fit into your diet, you're doing a low-fat diet, this probably isn't going to work for you.
That fucks up the absorption.
The bioavailability of it. So from what I've seen is if you just take this on like an empty stomach, a good majority of it's just going to go through your system and you're going to, excrete it one way or the other. So from what I've seen, the way they studied this and the way they had designed this is that basically, ideally, it'll get you in like the 500 to 700 range, like tops.
Even if you take a larger dose, the oral testosterone indecanate here that was just approved, right? And you said that there's another one. It starts with a J, I think.
Jatenzo,
thank you. These are not designed to get people into like the top third in terms of test. Say from like 800 total tests to say 1200 total tests.
From what I've seen on the studies, I mean, it says like, it kept, 90 some odd % of men between like 500 and 700, like they're not looking to get men into 1,000 or 1,100. They're looking to get men in between like 400 and 700. That's like the range they're looking for. So from what I saw, like the highest dose of this is pretty much, there may be a few outliers who are hyper responders, but average, you're taking this, you're in the 500 to 700 range.
Do you see, because you have your YouTube channel, I have my YouTube channel. We both had these for years. We also have Instagram and we TikTok, right? We've talked to a lot of people in this arena over the years. And how many fucking little pussies there are out there related to injections, right? Who just don't like to do injections because they're scared of needles.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think about this? Because if when you look at I look at the Google Trends data for, say, certain things to try to get a macro view of kind of to understand. Like I've sent you pictures of this multiple times because that's what I do. I look at the shit to try to understand, hey, this is what I think is going on. Let me take a look at the largest search engine in the world and see what people are actually searching for to get a better idea. And if there is, if we understand the pulse that there's a lot of men out there, if you want to call them men, if they're scared of needles, just call it. It's got some extra fucking confidence here with this mustache, bro. Highly recommend it. But that are scared of needles. Do you know how freaking popular this is going to be? This is going to be like the semaglutide that's been exploding over the last 2 years, right? Because semaglutide got approved, I think, in 2019 or 2020 or something. And it's just been up and to the right in terms of sales. Like you had mentioned, one of your buddies or something had mentioned something about like semaglutide being a blockbuster hit for weight loss or something like that.
Someone had mentioned that online, and I'll jump to semaglutide real quick. I'll just wrap up with this. So with the Jatenzo, I think they have a total of like 11,000 people on it. So it hasn't jumped off like that. Now,
why is that? Just because there's a fuckload of expense to it because they charge you an arm and a leg?
It's newer. I mean, they have to get doctors on board with this stuff. There's oral testosterone. Now, the thing is now here's the thing. So I've seen people hop on some of my chat and be like, oh, I got the new pill. It's like only like $40 a month. And I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. I was like, let me know in 6 months how that works out for you. And what they do is these companies, and they do the same thing with Zyosted, which is the auto injector for enanthate, fucking fancy delivery system. Again, making money from something that's already works, is they will give you like a manufacturer's coupon. So you go to your doctor and he's like, oh, okay, we're going to prescribe you fucking Zio, Tenzo, whatever. Here's your prescription. You'll go there and the pharmacy will be like, oh, okay, we've got your manufacturer's coupon. All right, it's $40 with your insurance. Perfect. So you're good. And you're like, oh, okay, good. I'm get used to this. I'm on this medicine. Boom, month 7, that manufacturer's coupon runs out. You go to pick up your script and it's like, all right, sir, it's going to be $679.98. And you're like, whoa, what are you talking about? Like, it was $40 last month. And they're like, oh yeah, well, that was the manufacturer's, farm rate that they gave you. Now it's this is how much it costs with your insurance, because your insurance doesn't cover this type of specific medicine. And then, but what are you going to do? You're out of your medicine. Are you going to cough up and pay it? Are you going to wait 2 months to go talk to your doctor and try to get something else because this is too expensive? It's kind of what is it? The first hit's always free.
Yes. So they're using the same strategy they use to get people addicted to cigarettes, right? This is the
well, you've seen on a lot of those pharmaceutical commercials where it'd be like, your first month may be free, or talk to your doctor about whatever, so it's pharmaceutical marketing. Try before you buy. And so the same thing with Zyosted. Bro, you get someone who gets a little fancy auto injector and they pull it out and they do the alcohol swab and they go, okay, done. And then, you have them dependent on the injector so that, they're going to pay $700 a month for the injector because they don't realize they could use a slim pin and do the same thing in, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's jump to semaglutide.
Yes.
Semaglutide is blowing up. You actually told me about it. I had never really heard about it before until like the past couple months. thetriggeredbrand.com. And, dude, everywhere I look, I was looking on a subreddit for semaglutide and this chick's like, she's like, oh, it lowered my blood pressure like 20 points. And I was like, oh, wow, I didn't even realize it did that. I'm taking Cialis to lower my blood pressure, which has worked really well. We could talk about that on another show. But dude, I didn't realize that semaglutide lowers your blood pressure too, or can for a lot of people. But semaglutide, the only bad thing I've read about it is that it was possibly shown to cause thyroid cancer in rats, but it's never been shown to do that anything with humans and has a very safe track record.
Is that kind of, I have not read that study, but is that probably similar structure to, say, the GW 501, 516 or the Cartering study?
It was from what I saw, and I didn't read the study, it was way less of like a connection. It was like some rats like had thyroid cancer when they were taking semaglutide, but they never but I saw like someone posted like, why are you even taking semaglutide? Is it worth getting thyroid cancer? And it just shows like someone who hasn't read anything, someone told them semaglutide causes thyroid cancer. They turn around, start spouting off on Reddit, telling someone that it causes thyroid cancer, has never read the study, has no idea. Anyway, but look, talk about, I've been fucking running my mouth for the past 40 minutes. Tell us, how does semaglutide work? What does it do?
So there's it's super interesting. There's also a couple other compounds out there that have a very, very similar effect in terms of the result, but work a different pathway. But semaglutide it's a GLP-1 agonist. So that's a glucagon-like peptide, I think it is, GLP, and GLP-1. And these are like on the islets of the pancreas, which is where insulin is made. So they're not 100% sure all the effects from it, but there's beta cells around these islets on the pancreas, and these beta cells either degrade over time or just like degrade over time, or they die, right? And what this appears to do is it actually helps increase insulin production from those islets, because that's where the insulin's actually being produced in your pancreas. And it seems to protect those beta cells or help with regenerating those cells. So you're like, this is kind of interesting, because you're like, if I'm producing more insulin, how am I actually increasing my insulin sensitivity? So there's some stuff there that still isn't fully understood, because semaglutide goes through and reduces blood sugar levels, right? And increases insulin sensitivity while reducing your appetite, right? So when you have those two effects together, it actually can help increase insulin production, or just maybe it's through making the, like if you have a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, that shit might be pretty shitty, right? Well, if you were able to go through and kind of like take those copies and put them together, like what we do with our phone when we take a picture, right? And it takes the HDR mode, right? And we've got 3 cameras on the backs of the phones and shit, right? It'll take an image from each one and kind of put them together and remove the noise, because it's all done with an algorithm. And you come out with a much higher quality photo there. Well, that's how I kind of understand this. The full effect is not, from what I've read in the research I've looked at, is not fully understood, but it's like awesome. I mean, if I had issues with blood sugar or insulin sensitivity, I would 100% be getting a prescription from my doctor to research with this, because this is awesome. Another thing that has a similar effect to this, tesofensine, but tesofensine is interesting. I think it's tesofensine. Tesofensine, in one study in humans, went through and actually raised the metabolic rate.
It's like that mitochondria uncoupler, right? That's kind of like DNP, but whereas DNP is kind of like a shotgun, this one's kind of like a sniper. Is that the same compound?
That's actually a different one. That's BAM 15. Isn't there so many cool peptides? Well, so tesofensine is a serotonin, dopamine, noradrenaline reuptake inhibitor, right? Say that 5 times fast. But you're like, what the F does that actually mean? Well, when we produce neurotransmitters, they get used, and then we recycle them effectively, right? And then they go out of the system. Well, when you take a reuptake inhibitor, so when recycling and reuptake, you can kind of think is the same thing. So our body's getting rid of that or absorbing that. So when you block the absorption of serotonin, dopamine, noradrenaline, you can get an increase in those levels. The net effect from that is that you have the same exact thing: a reduction in appetite, a increase in your insulin sensitivity, a decrease in your blood sugar levels, as well as a increase in your metabolic rate. So this is interesting, right? So I think they've related this to, was it SR9009, as they call it, exercise in a bottle? Is that the one?
I think so.
So
we should tease this. We should tease this. I think the next episode we should talk about tesofensine and semaglutide, all of it, because we could go in real deep with that.
Yes, I love that. And just, this is the preview for the next show. 5-amino-1-MQ is a NNMT inhibitor, and super interesting, but also has the same. So these are 3 compounds: teso, semaglutide, and 5-amino-1-MQ, all have the same effects: reducing appetite, increasing insulin sensitivity, and decreasing blood sugar levels. If you care about like your longevity and anti-aging, great things to pay attention to. Do you have any closing thoughts here?
If you're fat, come back next time and listen to us. Check out all of our links in their bio. Check out thetriggeredbrand.com. We'll see you guys next time.
Peace. Let me press the Press the